Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I just bought Circle Private Equity while I was in the McDonald's drive-thru getting my 11-year-old breakfast. We sure do live in an interesting world now, don't we? But I did. I pulled up the Link2 app and I made the Link2, who is one of my sponsors, but I made the purchase while waiting to pay for my McDonald's. Okay. And here's why I bought Circle. This is an article from, or a link, an X tweet or whatever, from Link2, unfolding the 2024 IPO market. And this is the article, exploring potential upcoming IPOs across key sectors: fintech, Stripe, Klarna, cybersecurity, Armis, Sync, digital assets, Circle, OpenSea. I would throw in there, well, I don't know if you wouldn't put Link2 in that category, but they said they're going to IPO in 2024. Artificial intelligence, OpenAI, Data EQ. Other reported upcoming IPOs, Reddit, Impossible Foods. It's going to be an exciting year, folks. I think it's going to be an exciting 2 years, 2024 and 2025. Crypto is about to get wild. I think Altcoin Daily hit it right here. Now here's some reporting on the Bitcoin ETF. It's coming imminently.
As the crypto world awaits the SEC's spot Bitcoin ETF decision, there are a number of fast-moving developments that are happening this evening. CNBC's Kate Rooney joins me now to break it all down. Kate, what's going on right now, and what does it mean for Bitcoin investors who've been chomping at the bit on this thing for a while now?
Yeah, Eamon, well said. Chomping at the bit, absolutely. Investors have been waiting for a decision on this backlog of Bitcoin ETF applications. We are starting to get some updated paperwork around some of those, including one this evening from the New York Stock Exchange. Bloomberg reporting today that SEC commissioners plan to vote on these ETF filings next week and have cleared at least one of these hurdles. There's been some back and forth on when that will happen. There are two types of hurdles, though, here. Eamon, the SEC needs to approve the S1s, which are from the applicants, and then these separate filings for exchanges known as 19B4s, which is what you got there from the New York Stock Exchange, submitted tonight. Both need the green light before any of these ETFs can actually start trading. The SEC has a deadline of next Wednesday to approve or deny the ARC21 shares application. They are among the 13 firms now vying for an ETF to track the underlying price of Bitcoin. So this would allow investors to hold crypto in their brokerage accounts or retirement accounts, for example. Some are arguing that may widen the audience of Bitcoin buyers. Bitcoin's price.
Retirement accounts. You mean like iTrustCapital? Now, I find this utterly fascinating. The Bitcoin people have never been concerned about the fees associated with Bitcoin or the fees associated with Ethereum. One of the things we've been saying that never made any sense is XRP, the fees are nothing versus Bitcoin and Ethereum. But the Bitcoin and Ethereum people never seem to care about it. But now that there's going to be a Bitcoin ETF, all of a sudden, all they can talk about is fees and how important fees are.
Battleground that you think is coming?
The battleground, it's the battleground for all asset managers. Fees, baby. Fees, fees, fees. We're all about the fees. And here's what's really interesting. Fidelity came out of the gate really early on, 2 weeks ago, 39 basis points. That's pretty low for a specialty ETF. We were thinking it would be in the 70 to 100 basis point range. Grayscale right now, the Grayscale Trust is 250 basis points. We've got Fidelity at 39. Invesco and Galaxy are 0 until the first $5 billion in AUM. I believe BlackRock is coming out at 80. So the fee game is going to be an interesting one because they're all the same thing. It's Bitcoin. How much will brand matter? And
I can't believe it. All they can think about is fees. Now this is interesting right here. This guy's talking about Grayscale.
Honestly, I don't think much is at risk, because even if they're not first out of the gate, ultimately they are going to convert and that discount is going to be gone. Obviously, it's more at risk not for GBTC investors, but for Grayscale themselves, because if they're out in the first wave, they're almost de facto going to be the leader. We like to look at this market as it tends to be winner take most, and the people with the most volume tends to get more volume and dominate.
Okay, so he's talking about Grayscale. And then, of course, we've got our old buddy, Jay Clayton, who all of a sudden, he's now acts like he's some innocent bystander that wasn't at the SEC for all this time and couldn't have gone ahead and approved all of this. But now it all just makes so much sense. And what that means is that his buddies on Wall Street are now ready, and that's why it makes sense all of a sudden. But here's Jay Clayton, and I pointed out the elephant in the room. There is no Bitcoin ETF if they don't know who Satoshi is. They wouldn't do it. It'd be stupid. They would never do it. That's the tell. It's the biggest lie in the history of finance, besides ETHgate, is the fact that Homeland Security met with Bitcoin, and none of them, including Jay Clayton or this CNBC clown, none of them will talk about that.
So it seems like there's kind of short-term pressure on the SEC in terms of the huge run-up in Bitcoin and the idea that if they don't approve this now, after all this expectation, a lot of people are going to lose their shirts in the Bitcoin markets. But there's also this sort of long-term concern about investor protection, right? Because if you talk about people investing their retirement funds now in a Bitcoin ETF, and Bitcoin has been such a wildly volatile item out there, these huge epic swings that you don't see in other asset classes, you talk about people maybe losing their retirement funds in the long run. So how do you balance those two things as the SEC looking at this, on a Friday night in early January?
Well, Lehman, let me talk about the SEC's role here. And what I would say is the three things the SEC felt that they had to get right before they approve it. And, approval is not certain, but I've said that approval this week is not certain, but I believe...
I don't need to listen to him anymore. How come you couldn't get them right? Was it because your Wall Street buddies weren't ready for it? Because crypto was ready for it. Breaking: Bitcoin worth over $1.1 million has been withdrawn from Binance to a wallet linked to Satoshi Nakamoto. In other words, we are to believe that someone is sending $1.1 million worth of Bitcoin into a wallet they don't have access to. Folks, this right here could get quite interesting. Lark Davis, rumor is that BlackRock has $2 billion in buyers lined up for week one of their Bitcoin ETF. When I see this, what I wonder is, because we know the governments were behind Bitcoin, what I wonder is them being the government, Satoshi Nakamoto, them, have they sat there on all that Bitcoin all this time knowing that they were going to cash out when the Bitcoin ETFs came out? That's the question. It's a good question. Eleanor Tarrant shows this. New following a quarterly rebalance, Grayscale has added XRP back into its digital large cap fund, which seeks to provide investors with exposure to large cap coverage of the digital asset market. XRP met inclusion criteria, folks. You're going to see an XRP ETF out of nowhere. Write it down. Now, check this out. Jimmy Valley's 1,000% right. This guy, Edo Farino, he says, before adding back XRP to their portfolio, Grayscale sold their XRP holdings on January 2020 following the accusations against Ripple. We very often underestimate the consequences of the SEC lawsuit on XRP performance during last bull run. Its price was clearly suppressed by external entities. XRP didn't hit its all-time high and was outperformed by other assets, Ethereum and ADA. Thousands of XRP holders suffered financial losses as a consequence of the SEC misconduct. The same entity that should protect investors. As a side note, Matic, all right, I won't get into any more of that, but Jimmy Valley says this is exactly what happened. How does the investing public hold its government accountable for damages they've caused? Joseph Grunfest warned them of this exact scenario in writing before the SEC lawsuit. Then Stephen Narioff comes in. Look at this. Coincidences. Bill Hughes, who is this? Bill Hughes, lawyer at Consensus, where Joseph Lubin's Consensus, You were at Jay Clayton's old law firm. Then you took the role at DOJ during the period I was prosecuted for a case they fabricated. You also had sign-off authority for charging documents in high-profile cases. Now you're at Consensus. Hypothetically, if Joe Lubin's legal advice is to remain silent in the face of my serious allegations, surely his attorney would do the same. Is this why you didn't answer simple corrections made to the formation of Consensus asked by Mr. Huber since I began it with Joe? Silencing me was crucial to keeping many secrets, such as the illicit actions taken against Ripple that I uniquely could expose, which I'm sure Jay Clayton and Bill Hinman didn't want. My case contains an outsized number of these types of coincidences. I will target them to get to the truth of who was part of my malicious prosecution. In my upcoming lawsuit, though the information I've discovered will lead to target many other activities beyond my prosecution. These guys, look at this. Mr. Huber says the DOJ was investigating Hinman while Hughes was working there. They filed a Freedom of Information Act request on Ethereum and his dealings with it, but then somebody stopped the DOJ investigation. Narioff says, bet someone who stopped the investigation into Hinman were the same ones who started my prosecution. Dimes to donuts, the answers are in the 14 gigs of data SEC isn't supposed to have on me. Wowzers. Now, in DAIXRP.com, folks, this whole thing with, that guy on the island is blowing wide open, and now they've tied some of the people that we knew this had to lead to, and I'm going to show you some of the stuff that's going on. Some of it's crazy and wild, and woof. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family. If you think the island guy doesn't have everything to do with crypto, then you might want to go on over to DAIXRP.com and find out, because it has everything to do with crypto. All right.